Hey everybody, and welcome to our latest dev update video. What you just saw is your first glimpse at brand new dungeons coming to ARK Mobile in our big 2.0 update. So we've been working on these dungeons for a while now, and we're going to tell you all about them in this update video. Now, what I want to point out first is that these dungeons are AI crafted and hand curated. And what I mean by that is that we're using procedural generation to generate a limitless amount of dungeon layouts, and then we go in by hand, we pick the best layouts, we pick the best enemy placements, best places to put loot, and then we service that up to you guys to play. Now with these dungeons, they're going to be rotating out on a weekly basis. So every week you can log into the game and you're going to have a brand new dungeon layout that you've never seen before to play. A few more things I want to point out about these right here at the top is that these dungeons are PvE only. So even if you're entering a dungeon from a PvP server, it's going to be a PvE experience. And you've got to run these dungeons on foot. As of now, we're not letting you bring tames into the dungeons, so it's just you and whatever you can fit in your inventory. So now we're going to take a look at some more footage, and I'll walk you through what you're seeing. Alright, so first, let's talk about loot. This is what we all love. We love getting loot, and we've got plenty of it for you in these dungeons. Now, the biggest thing about the dungeon loot that y'all have been asking for a while now is that we've added tech items. So you're going to be able to run these dungeons, open loot chests, and get tech blueprints in the dungeons from these chests. These chests will not only give you tech blueprints, but you'll also have a chance at getting premium items or resources from them. And these resources are going to be important because your health does not regenerate when you're in these dungeons. So you're going to have to rely on whatever you bring with you, or perhaps finding some jerky or other things in these chests so that you can get your health back up after these enemies that you're going to encounter. Now, the one thing I want to point out with the tech that we're adding is that we're adding a majority of the tech items that you know from PC and console, but they will act a little bit differently in our game, and we'll talk about those a little more in the future as we get closer to release. But what's important to note is that you'll be getting tech blueprints from these chests. And these blueprints are going to rotate out on a weekly basis. So just as I previously said, we're going to have different dungeon layouts every week. Every week you'll also have different tech blueprints that are on the table for you to take a try at getting. And of course, we'll make it known which tech blueprints are available that week so that you can target the dungeons that you want to and try and chase those tech blueprints that you really want to get. Some more things I want to point out about how loot's going to work is that you're only going to be able to extract your dungeon loot if you complete the dungeon. So if you don't complete it, that's it. You got to run it again from the start. There's no body bags to retrieve in the dungeons. You either complete the dungeon or you don't. Next up, let's talk about enemies. So you're going to see many enemies in these dungeons. And what happens is when you enter a room where there's enemies, the doors are going to come down behind you, and you can't leave until you've completed cleared all waves of these enemies. And what's cool is that other people in the dungeon can enter the room and help you fight, but no one can leave that room until all the waves are cleared. And now, you may have noticed with some of these enemies you're seeing that they've got an eerie glow to them. So what we've done is we've added eerie glow to all of the creatures that you find in these dungeons. So that applies to not only these predators that you're seeing, but also passive creatures. You'll find passive creatures from the island with that eerie effect on them. And for all of these, you can kill them, take their implants, and bring it back out to the island to revive them. For our breeders out there, what's really cool is if you get a male and female eerie variants, you can then breed them back on the island and breed your little eerie babies. Also, any new creatures that we add, such as the Trudons, are only going to be found in these dungeons. So you're going to have to go kill them in these dungeons, get those implants, and extract it from the dungeon so that you can then revive them on the island and have Trudons in your base. Now let's talk about size. These dungeons are absolutely massive. The one we're showing you footage of now is just a quarter of the size of what the final ones will end up being, and you're not even seeing all of this dungeon. So these final dungeons are going to be about half a square kilometer in size, which is really big. And as you can see from these layouts that we're showing you, you're going to encounter many different enemy rooms, chest locations, and traps as you work your way towards completing this dungeon. And then once you complete it, you can continue running these dungeons as many times as you want. Your first entry is free every day, and then additional entries will cost Amber. Now for our Primal Pass holders out there, you're going to get 2 free entries every day. But of course, we haven't quite shown you everything there is to see in these dungeons. That's right, folks. We're adding bosses to the game. The end of these dungeons will have bosses, and those will also rotate out on a weekly basis with the different dungeon layouts. So, of course, you're going to need to defeat the boss to clear the dungeon, and the way it works is that each boss battle can accommodate up to 10 players at a time. You're going to have to find the teleport pad in the dungeon, which will teleport you into the boss room, and then you can take your shot at clearing that boss and defeating this dungeon. So we've got close to a dozen different bosses in the works. Some of them are going to be familiar to you from PC and console. Some are going to be ones you've never ever seen before. And what's really cool about these bosses is that they will drop eerie element, which is what you're going to use to craft the tech items from those blueprints that I mentioned earlier. You're also going to find new dossiers from these bosses, and these dossiers are going to explain the lore behind our unique ARK Mobile island. Now, when you clear a dungeon, you're going to be brought back to your respawn menu, and then you can respawn wherever you want on the island. So this is what we've been working on for a while now. We've even tried teasing y'all about this, but only a few of you picked up on it. But here's a little glimpse of what we were teasing. And now for those of you who are worried about performance, you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, how is my phone going to run these dungeons? Well, the cool thing that we're doing is we're improving performance by unloading the entire island from your game while you're in the dungeon. So you're not going to have to worry about lag or slowdowns or anything like that. But this isn't even everything we've got planned for ARK Mobile 2.0. We're also transitioning official servers to faster CPUs, which is going to mean less lag and better performance for everybody. And as we have alluded to in previous videos, we've got our solution for tame slots, and that is called chronicling. So this update is going to allow you to use that eerie element to chronicle your tames back into their implants permanently. So when you chronicle a tame back into the implant, that freezes the timer on it, and it also takes away, doesn't count against your tame slots or the tame limit on that server. Now, when you chronicle a tame, you can then revive them for just 2 amber, and that applies to any chronicled implant. It's not going to scale with level like normal revival does. And as I said before, these chronicled implants will not count against your tame slots or the total tame count on the server. So this is our next major update planned for ARK Mobile. We're aiming to have it out by our 1-year anniversary, which is June 2019. Hopefully it'll be before then, but that's kind of our goal of when we want to get this out to y'all. So I hope y'all are just as excited as we are. We can't wait to share this with you, and you know we'll be sharing a lot more about these in the run-up to their release. Until then, we'll see you on the island, everybody. Cheers.